Cup week, just like it should be. The horses, the horsemen, the stories, the best from the north, south, and west. Representing the young, the old, reserved and bold. Our Cup week runneth over. But the best thing about Cup week this year is that you're back. Back to embrace everything that's good about this week. Back to embrace each other. To indulge without restriction. Free from shackles. Handbrakes off. Handlebars down. Release the hounds. It's Cup week.
Well, wars and conflict didn't stop the Cup, the earthquake didn't stop the Cup, and COVID didn't stop the Cup. But it certainly changed the way we do things over the past couple of years. This year, though, 2022, we are back and a semblance of normalcy here at Addington Raceway and in Christchurch. A big hello and a warm welcome to the TAB Trackside 1 IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup preview show. Over the next 90 minutes, we'll be dissecting all of the players, all of the runners in this year's IRT New Zealand Cup. So many storylines and so many factors into play, and that's certainly been reflected in both the futures market and the final field market. Well, joining me here in the studio, we've got a couple of guests a wee bit later on who we'll be talking to, about 4 of them over the next 90 minutes, but helping us through the coverage is a man who will be calling another IRT New Zealand Cup. He's got the best seat in the house. It's Matthew Cross. Big hello to you, Matt.
G'day, Mark, and really well put at the top of the show there. That's what it really feels about, isn't it? And last year when we were here, I guess, gives us a whole lot more of an appreciation for what we've got to come over the next 24 hours here at Addington. All the marquees up. A little bit of a quiet feeling at the moment, but it's all coiled up and is about to be let rip. You're right, I hope I've got the best seat in the house. I think one of the best seats in the house, and you really even feel there's a lot to dissect over the next hour and a half here on the preview show, and looking forward to your input as well as the whale and everybody else who's coming along.
Yeah, speaking of the whale, we've let him out. We've let him out over the past couple of years. He's been down the line in Auckland. You've been a long way away, whale, but now you're in the flesh.
Yeah, good evening, Cookie. Good evening, viewers. I was beached at Stanley Street last year due to COVID, but I'm back. Glad to be back. Didn't know I had so many friends, Cookie. Turned up at the airport 3 hours ago and everyone wanted a winner. Hadn't talked to them for a year, but they've become your best friend very quickly. I'm looking forward to this carnival. Of course, massive day tomorrow, 13 races. Fantastic undercard. The Cup itself, so many different paths to the Cup, so much happening in the Cup as well, and not easy to find the winner. Normally we're talking about 2 horses in a Cup. This year, I reckon we're talking of 6 to 8 winning chances, and I'm really looking forward to what is going to be a fantastic vibe tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. How many Cups have you been to?
27, 26, missed last year.
Yeah, of course. Oh, well, we're back to normal. We're back to normal. That's the way we like it. And the weather, well, they say it never rains on Cup Day. And according to the weather forecasters, well, this year's Cup is going to be no exception in terms of the weather. The weather's been playing its part in Christchurch over the past few days. There's been a lot of sunshine. There's been a lot of strong winds, which have certainly been playing havoc with the preparation for the IRT New Zealand Cup. But we were just talking before we came on, Matthew Cross, about how Addington Raceway changes, seeing that shot there, and they're going to be enjoying the weather, all of the people that are coming tomorrow.
19 degrees, maybe might get a little bit higher. I would say the sun's screen is an absolute must. It just comes alive, and it's always been that sort of place, the Addington Raceway. One day it can be as quiet as anything, and the next day it's just absolutely erupting. The atmosphere here tomorrow, I think, could be some of the best atmosphere that we've had here for the last few years. Hopefully no rain. Weather forecast says not, but it is Canterbury. We'll keep everybody updated on TAB Trackside 1 tomorrow, though. But yeah, things looking good so far.
Oh yeah, we're going to be looking forward to it, and hopefully if you are coming to Addington Raceway, you'll be here nice and early and getting prepared. A man who's been getting prepared for quite some time here at the Addington Raceway with his team is Darren Williams. You must be relieved as to, well, what we've got this year in terms of no restrictions for the Cup this year.
Absolutely, Mark. No restrictions means that we can have the party that we all deserve. We can celebrate with Cantabrians and people that have travelled throughout New Zealand and from Australia, and some of them further afield, to celebrate what is the greatest race day in New Zealand and certainly the greatest harness race meeting. People just love it. The vibe's been really, really good. We've been wrapped with how it feels. People are excited. There's this sort of hum around the place, and you know, for our own staff, right down to kitchen hands and track staff and everyone else that likes to put a show on. It felt a bit weird last year at the end of it. It felt a little bit flat, even though we'd had a great race. It just felt a little bit flat. So this is what we all live for, and this is what everyone wants to celebrate. And you get that real feel from the staff that aren't that interested in racing, that this time of the year they are really keen, and they keep handing me money to go and the boys get paid punters club, and our chef seems to have managed to make sure it's part of their employment contract. I think they just keep handing over the money, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. How long does it take to put this all together?
Well, the first marquee went up sort of 6-7 weeks ago. We had a bit of a hiccup on trials day, obviously, with the wind. It wasn't ideal for putting up marquees, and that slowed the business down a wee bit, and there's still a wee bit to go tonight. They'll work through the night a wee bit on a couple of things, but yeah, sort of solidly 4 weeks, and then it really ramps up in the last bit as we bring a whole lot of temporary staff in to assist. I suppose today there's 500-600 people on the course working. And yeah, it's a real family affair putting it together, and all the contractors sort of join with us. Even though they're not employed by us directly, the contractors that are on the course, from plumbers and electricians and everyone else that's putting things together, really join with us as an Addington family to put on a show.
Well, how many tickets have you sold? How many people can we expect on track tomorrow?
Look, I think it'll probably be close to 15,000. There's still some GA available, which is surprising us a little bit. That was a wee bit slower than the rest of it. A lot of demand today for Bacardi on the lawn, which unfortunately sold out, so there was only GA left. Hospitality went gangbusters like it always does. There's about 4,800 of them, I suppose, and that's you know, at a reasonable high end. Bacardi on the green, which is the rebranded Lindau Lawn's gone off like a bomb, and the rest of the facility's really good. I can tell you, if someone's coming just with general admission, the ZM Public Village over there has everything you would expect. It's got theming, it's got pretty much anything you would expect, their own marquee, and it's going to be pretty comfortable because it doesn't look like it's going to be packed over there. Don't know what the walk-up will be. I know Rickard and Marc was pretty good on Saturday. They were a wee bit surprised by their walk-up, so they had a really good day, and maybe we'll get the same tomorrow.
Obviously, it's a different world these days. Millennials don't carry a lot of money, but there are some generations that still do, and you need money to put over the TAB to have a punt when you come. What's your message in terms of what people need to bring if they're coming tomorrow?
If they want to bet with cash, they need to bring cash with them. There's limited ATMs on course. We've used waiver in the past. We're a version of a payless system for all of the venue with the exception of owners and members. This year we've extended it to them as well. There's some people a little bit frustrated with that as they get used to it, but it's been part of the public village and the Lindau Lawn for a number of years, and it's seamless. The problem with FBOS, of course, is you have to cash off that payment before you can make another one through the system, unless you have multiple FBOS machines across a till, and that's slow in itself. Once they've loaded their money onto their wristband, it's really seamless. So it's part of most big events. We get that it's a wee bit new for some people, but most of the people that are familiar with it quite like it. We'll review it again afterwards and just see what people have made of it. But I think if you're going to bet with cash, bringing some cash with you is important. You can use your waiver wristband to bet with, and you can collect it back onto your wristband, so simple. There's a lot of waiver staff all over the course, so people that are unfamiliar with it will be well and truly looked after by the hospitality staff that are in charge of each area.
Hey, we're looking forward to it, Darren. You've got a busy time, I suppose, a bit of a sleepless night. The work's going to go on right up until the gates open.
Yep, we'll be here crack of dawn again tomorrow, as we all are. To be honest, it's okay. You're not sleeping the night before. You're running through things in your own mind, and all of the staff do the same thing. The catering team, the chef, head chef Graham Jones, he's got 54 chefs working under him on the property tomorrow. You've got kitchens from here to Africa pretty much. So all of the staff have put in a really great effort, and we're looking for a tremendous cup, and we want to celebrate it with the people on course that deserve to have a cup unlike no other.
And we need a cup tip from you.
Gee.
Pressure's on.
So I'll go Rock and Roll Do with no absolute conviction. I love the horse. I spent a lot of time with Mick Stanley with a horse called Rock and Roll Angel, trying to get her over to the Jewels a number of years ago. That fell through, but Mick always said to me that he will be here with the horse. He's a real gentleman. Brendan James, spent a lot of time with him as well, so I'm keen on it. I thought it was really good at the trials, made a good recovery after Ashburton, but to be honest, as everyone's saying, and I'm only repeating what people are saying, but I know it myself, this is the deepest cup we've had for a while. It wouldn't surprise you if the 12th favourite won the race, whereas normally those horses are trying to hang on to a placing perhaps at best by, you know, chasing the markers and running up the fence, but this time there could be a real upset. I'd love to see the connections to Smithys Terror win it. They remind me of the connections of winning Blue Chip when he won the Derby here. They were just stunned. We had the Cup and Spectators a number of weeks ago, and they all got their photo taken with the Cup. Yeah. They're living the dream, and that is exactly what it's about, and we'd love to see something like that happen.
Yeah, we're looking forward to taking it all in tomorrow, Darren. Big thanks for having us on.
No problem.
Darren Williams there from Addington Raceway, and big thanks to him for coming on. He's a very busy man indeed. And speaking of the Cup field, we are going to go runner by runner through the Cup field. Here is the full list of the competitors in the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup of 2022.
The field for the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup headed up by the 2020 winner in Self Assured. Can he find his Zen again off barrier number 1? Tony Hurley to drive. Majestic Cruiser number 2, the messenger winner for the Young Gun combo of Jason Grimson and Cam Hart's. Akuta, the Hannon winner, and the bosses elect Marc Purdon gunning for 7 Cup victories. Speaking of Young Guns, Krug and young Carter Dalgety, with Krug runner number 4. Spankem placed in 2020 and 2019. Can he go one better? Sure to be a crowd favourite. He's a Sport, a combo that have proven on the racetrack. Cullen and Julie De Philippi and Bob Butt. Pembroke Playboy, more than just a horse for his southern owner, Chris Alcock. It's been a rocky road occasionally, but here he is. Last year's winner, copy that. Looking to go back-to-back with Blair Orange once again in the cart. Old Town Road, trainer John Dickey keeping his cards close to his chest, but the Flying Stakes was super. And the Kaikota Cup winner, Kango, starting from the outside of the front.
Smithys Terror for John and Jenna Dunn, of course, won the Methven Cup. Robert Dunn won it with Mainland Banner quite a few years ago. Rock and Roll Do, the Aussie visitor, fantastic in the Cup trial. Of course, the Victorian Cup winner, Michael Stanley, trains and drives. Number 15, BD Joe, Flying Stakes winner. Of course, Stephen Amanda Telfer had 2 in the race, crawled by the draw. Alta Wiseguy, he's fast, but he's second row here. He's $21, and he's the second stringer for the Telfer team. And the last horse in this year's Cup, South Coast Arden, the free-for-all winner, badly out of form. Can Brett Mangill step him away and be a force to reckon with in this year's Cup?
And this is the Cup field, and this is the current Cup market with tab.co.nz. Copy that, a $3.60 race favourite to go. Race to race, year to year, of course, was favourite in the race a couple of years ago, and things didn't pan out off that standing start. $5 about the first of the 2 Australians in Rock and Roll Do. You've got Akuta at $7.50, of course, the 3-year-old who, or technically 4 under the old system, but a 3-year-old now contesting the Cup. And Self Assured, a former Cup winner, at $7.50. Old Town Road at $8, the Northerner. To the second page of the IRT New Zealand Cup. A few more on the other side with tough draws, BD Joe and Alta Wiseguy, and off the unruly will be South Coast Arden, a 60-1 shot. Well, the Wales are back with us, and in between us, we've got the man who's looking after things at the racing desk with the TAB. It is Matt Peden. Nice to have you here, Matt, and well, Cup time, very exciting for you too.
That's right, Mark. Good to be joining you. There's plenty of activity that's going on through those cup markets, and it's pretty hot already considering we're just under 24 hours away, but getting ready to ramp up.
What's the activity been like in terms of the market since you opened a final field market?
Look, the support's been varied. In the last 24 to 48 hours, the support's coming for copy that, holding now around about double what Rock and Roll Do does. But I'd expect that the money continues to come for Rock and Roll Do as we get closer to the race, just given that cup trial.
In terms of the openness, I suppose, of the race this year, how does that affect you guys at the racing desk?
It's been a little bit different in a sense that you've had copy that was beaten by Rock and Roll Do comfortably in Australia, and the All-Stars trio probably haven't stood up as you'd normally expect them to leading into a cup campaign, and it just made things a little bit different, a little bit more open.
Matt, just on the Australian horses, how did you line up their form when you were sitting back and you were analysing the field? I mean, we've seen Rock and Roll Do, standing start, Ashburton, slightly slow away, Cup trial, excellent, and of course Majestic Cruiser coming off an okay run last start. The barrier draw, did it play a lot into the way that you've priced them?
It was probably seen as a positivity in a way, Rock and Roll Do, drawing the second row, just being away from the majority of that traffic. Had he drawn closer to the inside on the front line, I think his price may have been relatively similar, but the fact that he's drawn there off the back of a good cup trial, we saw as a positive.
There's been a lot of good horses going forward, but there's been a few that's had reservations. Self-Assured's been one of them. Barrier 1, that's a little bit of a niggle. Coming off a subpar run at Ashburton. He was 320 going into Methven. He's 850 now. Is the money dried up on him?
It hasn't dried up, and I think the longer that he gets in the market, the more the punters may gravitate to him, just given the fact that he's drifted purely off one poor run, and that the fact that the stable can turn them around, and there may have been an excuse there. So I think if he gets closer to $10, the money may come in bigger amounts.
Just want to ask you about the undercard. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people sitting back tonight and thinking, well, what's our multi-anchors for the day? I'm thinking Don't Stop Dreaming and Republican Party are going to run through an awful lot of multis, possibly even Bolt for Brilliance. Is there one result there that you're worried about? Don't Stop Dreaming drawing $2, $1.65. Obviously, you've had money for him. Would he be a bad result earlier on in the program?
He's a bad result, but in comparison, Republican Party's worse, holding probably 3 times more money at about 5 o'clock this afternoon than what Don't Stop Dreaming was. But I think the money will come for Don't Stop Dreaming with the lazy dollar that recognises Marc and Hayden Cullen on a big day.
Could say congratulations to the bookmakers there. The market's up very early. They frame them up nice and quickly, and also of course they've got so many power plays, head-to-heads that are open. You go to tab.co.nz, you go to the New Zealand Hub. There's first 5, first 8, Cookie, head-to-heads, 5 different head-to-heads there as well. You can build your own power play. So bookmakers have put them out there for you to get involved in. So do that, and I do think they've given you a little bit of value. Probably the best value I can say, Matt, is definitely the roughy market. You've got the Aussie Majestic Cruiser 420. I reckon that's worth playing into. And at 420, I reckon he'll start a lot shorter.
And plenty of getting involved in him too.
Of course, we do need to mention the Pick 6. We've got the guaranteed first fours, $20,000 on all races, Matt. But Pick 6 is being done a little bit differently this year.
A little bit differently, starting on race 6, going through to the Cup on race 11, and there's a $100,000 terminating guarantee as well. So expect that pool to jump.
Yeah, it's one thing we do need to take note of, take heed of, that Pick 6 with the earlier start not lining up on the final 6 races. Make sure you take note of that, tab.co.nz for the terminating Pick 6. We thank Matt Peden from the Racing Desk as part of our coverage here on TAB Trackside 1. A short break. We're going to be going runner by runner through the field for this year's IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. Off the back of a short break, as we go to a break, we relive one of the legends of the IRT New Zealand Cup, a multiple-time winner and of course a record holder in the race, the great Lazarus.
Third quarter, 28.4. Lazarus is out by 5 lengths. Tiger Tara, then Smolder and Tiger Tara, but it is all Lazarus clear of Tiger Tara. And once again, Lazarus has arisen. Lazarus has beaten Tiger Tara and Titan Banner.
Marc, I think he deserved that little pat then. When you heard the time, I think even that's blowing you away even more.
As Greg, really emotional moment. It's, you know, just one of the greatest moments in harness racing for me.
Starting to rattle down the outside. Tribute's right there in the middle. Monkey King got to the lead. The mighty Monkey in front. Flashing Red's coming back on the inside. Tribute in the middle. They go to the line. Flashing Red. What a win. The 10-year-olds won it.
Two-time winner of the IRT New Zealand Cup, Flashing Red. Only recently passed away in September at the age of 25, Flashing Red, so just a couple of months ago. Certainly side plenty of winners in Australia. They're pretty keen on him. Let's go through the field and we'll try and find a winner of this year's IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. We start off with a former winner of the Cup. Won this race back in 2020, Self Assured. Of course, 7th in the Ashburton Flying Stakes was the first time in 28 starts he's missed a place. And Matthew Cross is going to be driven by a man who's driven over 3,600 winners. And Tony Herlihy, he's had 31 drives in the Cup.
Yeah, he's a super driver, super horse, super training combination as well. Is he at his best is the big question mark for Self Assured. And barrier number 1 could quite possibly be the worst draw in the race if the recent runs of this race are anything to go by. Craig, he's a super horse on his day, and it could be the Bart Cummings scenario where the big day is when he's peaking. He's got the right man on his board, and look, I feel as though in his lead-up races, for the bar that we set for him, he has been disappointing. But if he was any other horse, you'd be saying he's running pretty well.
What you would say is we forget how good horses can turn the form around very quickly. I mean, classic example is Sunday Sun. Going into Kaikoura, missed his 2 starts at Addington. He proves that form, turns it around. The problem I've got with him is not so much that his subpar run at Ashburton, it's the barrier draw, because he's never been quick away, and there's some quick beginners here. Now, he was $3.20 leading into the Methven Cup. You're getting $8.50. As I said, form is temporary, class is permanent. He is the best credentialed horse in the race. He's an Auckland Cup winner. He's won the race by grins. He's a Cup winner. I mean, he's a horse that we don't want to drop. I just don't like the draw, Matt. That's why you're getting $8.50. Tony Hurley adds to him. He's a horse that he's driven in Auckland through the Messenger and also the Taylor Mile. So he knows the horse. He's not like he's jumping on him for the first time. I'm not willing to write him off. I think you're getting the right price for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes a cracker, because he had a bug. He can turn it around. He's too good a horse to drop. He's not in my top 4, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ran into the placings.
Talking about a winner there of the Race by Grins in Self Assured. A horse that placed in the Race by Grins is the second runner in the field, and it's one of 2 Australians in the field. It's been a while, over the past 30-odd years of the Cup. We've only had 1 Australian trained and driven winner. You go back a few years to Arden Rooney, of course, but this year we've got a couple of strong chances, Matthew Cross. Majestic Cruiser, young gun, they call both Jason Grimson and Cameron Hart.
Yeah, he's got so much confidence in the sulky, doesn't he, Cameron Hart? And he was so good when he came over here, Majestic Cruiser. His run in the Race by Grins was phenomenal, and then he came out and did this in the Messenger, and he tore them apart and tore apart a very, very talented field of our best open class paces, doing it the hard way, coming into it 3 wide. He's had a standing start practice at Menangle where he stepped away cleanly. He's had a good preparation to build for this. I guess he's the horse that could come out and surprise them. Everyone's talking about Rock and Roll Do being the superstar Australian. If Majestic Cruiser came out and won, I doubt that there'd be a surprised face in Australasia.
As one races at bigger odds than what Majestic Cruiser is currently paying, won those Group 1s. It's been a massive 11 months for Jason Grimson. You go back to the Inter-Dominion Championships on live television, the first ever Inter-Dominion winner on protest, and that went to Jason Grimson when Bonsell Benjamin was able to get the job done. Jason, you got that one in the room, and it's been a massive year for you. Welcome back to New Zealand.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it has been a big year. You know, I've travelled sort of everywhere around Australia and to New Zealand. And yeah, it's good to be in these big races. You get to meet new people, which is good. Yeah.
So tell us, when did this excursion to New Zealand come about? When did the idea to come to an IRT New Zealand Cup come about?
I was having a chat to Greg O'Connor when I was in Queensland, and he asked me if I'd like to come, and I thought it'd suit him down to the ground. We just had to get his stand and start manners right, which I think we do have right, and yeah, just the 3,200 metres will suit him down to the ground.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt.
In terms of getting him here to New Zealand, what's the logistics like? Was it a plane ride to Auckland, float down, or did you get a plane ride the entire way?
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. We flew into Auckland. He stayed a night there, and then he flew down on a charter flight, which was good. But I sort of wanted to fly him closer to the race, just because he is quite a fat horse, and then trim him up a lot, which it has. So the travel doesn't knock him around too much, you know. He's pretty seasoned.
And what's the work been like since arriving here? You've had a spin around Addington with him at the weekend? Yeah,
his work's been real good, actually. Really happy with him. I brought him in here on Saturday and he felt sharp. He had a look around. After I worked him, I pulled him up down the back and just stood him and got him away a few times, and he was real good. So really confident he'll get away, which is the main thing.
Couple of Riverina boys, of course. Cameron Hart, you've got a lot of confidence in Cam.
Yeah, every time I put him on, I got confidence. You know, I don't really tell him what he has to do or anything. He sort of knows. We both sort of think the same way about races, and he knows the horses inside out. So it gives you a lot of confidence when you put him on.
Can you win the Cup?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Jason. That's all we need to know. He's a man of few words, Jason Grimson, but when he does say something, Matt, you take notice.
Yeah, confidence, and that's what it's all about. It's like anything in life, Mark. If you're going into something and you've got the attitude of, I don't think I'm a chance, then massive chance you're not going to win. So they think they can win. Good luck to them. It'll be interesting, the tactics between Majestic Cruiser, the horses like Rock and Roll do, what happens. There could be a bit of a race on early, but yeah, I like the confidence.
Yeah, the Australians, they have confidence in spade loads. They don't fear anybody, Craig, I suppose. That's the big thing, and they have injected so much excitement into this race.
Well, the first talking point about it is getting away from a standing start. Once that evolves, then he's in the race, and he's a very good horse. Not many horses could do what he did in the Messenger and win it. I think what will aid his chances of stepping away is we start down the back straight here. So it's not like it's in front of the crowd. It's not at the 2,600 metre starting point. It's down the back. It's a little bit more quieter. He's had limited standing starts, but as we just heard, he was brought in here during the week. They gave him some standing starts, and they said, well, we're really happy with the way that he stepped. He doesn't have to step the quickest. He's just got to keep off the marker pegs, keep out of trouble, get into the field and get into the race. There's not many horses can run a quick half like he can off a hard speed. He's the best rough in the race, Marc Cookson. $18. Great value.
No doubt. And I think on the TAB hub, there's a roughies market where there's a bunch of runners where you can take your pick as to who's going to be first of those past the post. It's one of the novelty bets with the TAB. Well, let's move on to the youngest horse in the race. Credited as a 3-year-old, of course, under our new system, our new calendar, but really about the same age as when Lazarus won one of his cups, of course, his first one, Akuta. He'll be in the colours of Ian Dobson's Cullen breeding, who, these colours were carried to win the 2005 Cup with Mainland Banner, Matthew. And gee, it's going to be a huge week for Ian.
Certainly is. How about having him share and Don't Stop Dreaming as well as Muscle Mountain? Plenty to look forward to. And look, I'd be happy with a 1/10 in one of those. Look, he's a horse that I think we're going to see the best of in another 12 months. He's quite a big framed horse, but in saying that, he's not an overgrown sort of horse. I think heading towards the Derby, he deserves to be the Derby favourite. He was good here in the Hannon. It's going to be a totally different kettle of fish going from a race like this to tomorrow's Cup, where they could be running 354, 355. He needs to be fast away. He needs to get himself in a good position. I don't think he can make his own luck in the Cup if he's slow away, having to move around them 3 wide, Craig Thompson. I love the horse. I really love the horse, but it's a totally different kettle of fish going from where he is against million earners.
Well, he's a boy against men. So he's a horse that's only had 3 runs in true open grade fields. 1 at Auckland, 1 in the Hannon, 1 in the Kaikoura Cup. So it's a big ask for a young horse to do that. Also, standing start, he's only had a couple of stands as well, Matthew. I think he's a horse like you that can't do a lot of work early on. He needs to step, he needs to probably try and find the marker pegs. Through the fence wouldn't be a bad spot for him. He's got a lethal finish. We saw that in the Jewels. Not many horses can come from last, loop them out wide of Cambridge too, and just roll over the top of them. So he's not in my top 5 because I think, like you, he's 12 months away. I think he was thrown in the deep end because he went so good at Kaikoura. It justified his start, but that doesn't make him a winner. I think he's in the mix, but maybe not a winner.
All right, Akuta is lining up for a legendary owner in Ian Dobson. We've talked about Mainland Banner, but we go back to the 1990s, of course, when he teamed up with the legendary Brian O'Meara with Christian Cullen.
It's Christian Cullen, he puts 3 lengths on Heracles. Christian Cullen, Heracles wants to come out and make it worthwhile. It's Christian Cullen in front, Heracles, it's the finish we expected. Christian Cullen and Heracles, Christian Cullen, Heracles. It's Christian Cullen in a galaxy of stars, he's the brightest of all. Christian Cullen, probably one of the greatest ever New Zealand Cup winners on that performance today.
Well, Carter Dalgety, you've got a very busy week coming up for driving in your first New Zealand Cup and also sitting an exam in the morning. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day on Tuesday, so the morning I'll be zoned out of the horses into the book, so that'll be a bit of fun, and then straight to the track on Tuesday for probably one of the biggest days of my life.
How have you juggled that, obviously, with what you're studying and with your driving? How have you made it all work?
Oh, it's actually been quite nice because I find doing the studies, it's a little bit of an outlet, and it keeps me pretty switched on to be motivated for both things. So when I'm in the horses, it's nice to be away from the books, and then when I'm in the books, sometimes it's nice to be away from the horses. So yeah, I find the balance works really good.
No one surprise me unless you do. I can tell there's
The sun sets here at Addington Raceway the night before the big one. Look at that, resplendent. IRT New Zealand Cup Day. We are inside the 24-hour mark, and it's going to be a busy day for one Carter Dalgety, Matthew Cross. Tomorrow morning, he's got an exam. And then he's coming here to Addington. His uni mates will be here cheering him on, those who will have finished their exams or don't have one. And then they'll be cheering on Carter as he jumps in the card in the great race.
And good luck to him as well. It was a big call, obviously, from Cran and Chrissy and the owners to put Carter on, but he's a young guy who's just full of confidence. We saw the confidence, Craig, earlier from Jason Grimson. And look, Carter's out there. He's a young guy who's happy to take risks on the racetrack, which are paying off. It's what the good drivers do. He comes through the Cran tutelage where we've seen guys like Marc Jones and Dexter Dunn and Jack Trainer as well go on to do wonderful things. I don't know about Krug being a winning chance in this year's Cup. It was good to see him get his confidence back last time out, but he's going to need a lot to go his way.
Well, it was. I mean, a 40-metre win and a lower graded affair. It was a beautiful drive. And I suppose it's the association with Carter and the horse. It goes back for such a long time when he travelled overseas, when he travelled to Auckland. And remember, he's been dining in on Dexter Dunn for a long time as well, and Dexter was there and taking what he did. My concern is the Cup Day trial. He was here on Wednesday, Matt. There was only 3 in it, and he missed away badly. Now, if he's going to win a Cup or he's going to place in the Cup, the man is going to have to be 100% right. This is him winning last start off a 40-metre handicap when he was beautifully handled. And I think Carter just has to basically sit in the cart and just see what unfolds. Duck to the market pegs, take the shortcuts. He's $41 in the Cup. There's no pressure on him. Just go out there and enjoy the occasion, Marc Cookson.
Yeah, let's go to Spankem. The next horse in the IRT New Zealand Cup has won 21 races and $1.8 million in stake money. We always talk, Matthew Cross, about this horse, and not the preferred distance, the 3,200 metres, but of course has placed in this race a couple of times, and this distance, obviously a Miracle Mile winner, but he's no spring chicken.
He's no spring chicken, but if you are looking for one big bet in the race, I reckon this is your horse. Top 5. There's a top 5 market available on the NZ Cup Hub on the TAB website. Top 5. I think he's about $2.20, Craig. He could be the first horse to the pegs here, and if he settles in the first 6 in running on the pegs, I cannot see how he doesn't run in the top 5.
I think he needs a similar run that he got in the Ashburton Flying Stakes. He got buried through the fence, so this is what happened and what evolved. And he was luckless in this race because Betty Joe walked and they sprinted up the lane and Nelly looked for a run and the gap didn't appear and she was hard held. Well, he was hard held at the line and running on. He's a horse that I don't think is a true 2-miler. I think his best race is over shorter distances. But, as you say, if he's first away, if he's first to the market pegs and he can get onto the back of a Copy That or a Rock and Roll Do, he'll run the race out nicely. I don't think he can lead in a cup and win over 3,200. That's not Spankem's go. But he's a very good follower. He's a Miracle Mile winner, and you're right, Mark. He's been placed in this race in 2019 and 2020, albeit they were in weaker cups than this year. So I think of the 3 Mark and Hayden runners, I think he's probably the best chance of running in the money.
Yeah, I suppose Marc's got a lot of confidence. Matt, he's been talking in interviews. He's really confident about Spankem. What weight are we putting on Marc's comments? Because punters always listen.
A massive amount, a huge amount on Marc's comments. Marc is so in tune with these horses, and if Spankem is flying and Marc Purdon says so, then I see no reason why you can't play him heavily around that top 5 market. And if there is a bit of pressure and he is able to work forward and find the pegs early, get a cushy run, say 3 back the inside, he's not without a winning chance in the race either. But for those of you looking for that heavy bet, looking for that horse who's going to be up towards the speed, this is it in the top 5 market.
He's a Sport was the winner of the Morris Holmes Vase, so gets into this race. Cullen and Julie De Philippi have won this race before in 2001 with Kim's Girl. Bob Butt will take the drive. Look, Matt Whale, we can't shy away from it. It's been a drama-filled week.
Look, if there's one horse, Mark, that deserves to win the race for a man who has put so much into this industry, for a family that's put so much into this industry and been treated so poorly over the last week, for one reason or another, it's this horse. They deserve some sort of tonic. I feel as though that they've been poorly treated, Craig, Colin De Philippi, with what's gone on. Bob Budd obviously takes the drive and the horse is going to get every chance, but they certainly deserve a slice of the pie.
It's been a travesty. I mean, he deserves to be in the Cup. I mean, the galloping boys get 10 days, the harness boys get 7 days to appeal, and it's just not right. I think, you know, it's a horse that they bred, they race, they own. And Colin, how many more cups will he get to drive? This horse, it would be a fairy tale. I don't see him winning the Cup, but Colin deserved a chance to drive in the Cup. And he is a good beginner. We saw in the Vase that he worked his way into the race and he finished it off really nicely to win. He justified his start in the Cup. He's one of the outsiders at $81. Bob, but he won't lose anything in putting Bob in the card. He'll give him a decent steer. He may be just a length or two behind the best here, Matt. And he's a horse that you've got to remember, he's only having start number 21. And he's still a 4-year-old. The best is still in front of him. He's a Sport.
Mark, I know that he will have so many of the industry participants cheering him on. He's a Sport, so good luck to them.
Yeah, and of course, Colin is wishing everybody well, of course, for the big race and all of the participants, and still getting involved, of course, with He's a Sport. Well, talking about deserved runners in the Cup, this guy, it's been a tough 12 months. Pembroke Playboy from the Deep South. Injury kept this horse out of last year's IRT New Zealand Cup, Matt, and then a couple of days before the race by Grins, there was a scratching as well. So it's just fantastic that Nathan's got him going ahead of this year's Cup.
4th up, peaking at the right time, I think. Wide barrier draw suits. He's a horse that's very fast away from the tapes, and he's in the same boat as Spankem. If they work their way to the pegs, then they're a royal chance of running in the top 4. Great story around this horse with his owner, Chris Alcock. Clearly the horse is never going to be for sale. I mentioned in the earlier part of the show that he's more than just a horse. He's part of the family, this horse, Craig, and he ran a cracking race at Akuta, and that'll be good for his confidence.
Well, I think his campaign's actually going okay, Matt. I thought his Hannon Memorial run was really good. What I liked about the Hannon run was he was the first away and he got to the market pegs. He needs to do that again in the Cup. He was very good away again here in the Kaikoura Cup, so his manners and draw where he is puts him in the race. Now, Is he in the same form that he was, say, 12 months ago when he won the Northern Southland Cup? I'm not sure, but I think he's certainly on the rise at the moment. He's $26. He would be one that I wouldn't mind playing into the top 8 because I think his definite standing start ability will put him probably at the top end of the race early on, and then if you get on the market pegs, Mark, he's definitely a top 5 chance.
Yeah, good luck to the Southerners there with Pembroke Playboy. Well, I tell you what, we're about to go to a break here on the preview of the IRT New Zealand Cup for 2022. When we come back, a real unique look, a real unique position from a man who's won a couple of cups in the last few years, Blair Orange. He's jumped in the cart with one Matthew Cross. That'll be off the back of a short break as we relive an Australian winning the IRT New Zealand Cup. Could it happen again this year?
Arden Rooney leads, Smolder's a length away, Arden Rooney, Smolder, Arden Rooney a neck, Smolder is trying hard, it's still Arden Rooney, kicking, and the goal from Great Western creates history. Arden Rooney beats Smolder and Mossdale Connor.
We're about 400 metres from the start on Cup Day last year. What are you feeling right now?
Well, you're just sort of in your own zone, you know, thinking about, well, first of all, getting him away. That's always a key thing, and yeah, just reminding yourself of the competitors and your main dangers and whatnot.
And you're about to face up, drawn barrier 8.
Yeah, over the back straight here, whether it's 2 mile or 2,000 metres, it's 1 and 2. You just seem to, we've got to begin so much faster than the wider ones to get ahead of them early. So that draw we had last year of out wider really helped us.
Racing in the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup, and Henry Hubert and Cranbourne both bombed the start.
As we go 100 metres after the start, you've given a look across to the left. You might have said some superlatives to yourself when you saw Marc Purdon booting through with Self Assured. Was that a key point?
When I did look across, I thought, holy hell, Self Assured's going to get in front of me and this ain't good. But lucky enough, he couldn't or he didn't. And pretty sure it was Johnny Dunn in front. So
yeah, Classy Brigade.
Classy Brigade in the front was always going to be there for me on copy that with the quality animal. And yeah, it worked out really nice to get the lead early.
You're getting away with it here, right? 2 laps to go.
Yeah, we got it pretty cushy when we found the front, and no one sort of come looking for quite a while. So yeah, we were able to dictate the race and set our own terms, and you know, just cruise along really.
So we're heading out of the straight, Classy Brigade on your back. Colin DeFilippi's just worked round in the breeze with Bad to the Bone. So is it a case of just keeping him as relaxed as you can so that you can get the most out of him at the finish?
Yeah, well, it's too far from home to have him too revved up, and Colin had been 3 wide for quite a while, so he was never going to come and put any pressure into the race either.
So we've come around, completed our first lap. We've got 2,000 metres left to go. You had a good look over the right shoulder and there was just nothing at all happening.
Yeah, I knew I was getting it pretty easy in front, and I just wanted to have a look to see where obviously South Coast Arden and Self Assured were, because if they were going to make their moves then, I was just going to fasten the tempo a little bit, because I didn't want them sort of coming at me at speed and thinking they might have a sniff of getting the front. So when I looked and they weren't coming, yeah, I was pretty happy just to dawdle along a bit more. Just always lucky when you have a superior horse, the other competitors know the front's not going to be there for them. So with the others back in the field, the main danger is just getting that easy first mile. Definitely going to help, because it's going to be a pretty quick last one.
Little did you know at this exact point, Marc Purdon's started his run with Self Assured. South Coast Arden has followed him around, and then Laver's popped out of the 1-1. You've had a look right and just put the foot down.
Yeah, Jared come back round again, and obviously with Marc and Nat on there making their runs, and once I seen them coming forward, it was time to up the ante and just make them work a little bit harder whilst they were out 3 wide.
The speedo went from about 46k 100 metres before the post to about here at the 1050, you're rolling along about 52, so that's sort of 28-second quarter speed, and then big South Coast Arden comes rolling around. Gee, he's a big brute, isn't he?
Yeah, he come round, like just when I seen Natalie come with him, I just thought, oh, she might just come up and have a real good dig here, and I was just in two minds whether if she really had a serious look to just let her slide or not, but my mind told me just to stay where I was and she could stay out there, but yeah, but once we got sort of to the half, it was always going to be a very fast last half.
We're around at 450 now, so starting to heat up. There's a few of them out the back making their runs. And then you have a look around to your left, just a little glare, and Clash's Brigade's dropped off your back. That must have given you a little bit of confidence you were going pretty good.
You know, I could feel Johnny just lose trail on me back, and you know, Natalie'd start to get a little bit itchy with her one, and I just had him a wee chirp actually, and he jumped straight on the bridle again, and that was pretty cool to feel.
And about here, you'd be fairly confident nothing's beating you.
Yeah, that's right. He just wanted to get up the track a little bit, about 100, 200 out. You know, he was coasting, and Marc and Nat's two runners, you know, had them well covered and nothing was running on, so it was celebration time.
It's Copy That's Cup though. Queue up, ladies. He's done it. Copy That won the New Zealand Cup by 2.5 on Self-Assured.
After the race, you've given the wee salute. Was there anyone up there looking when you saluted, or were you just sort of...
No, it's just the emotion that goes through.
Yeah.
I was give you a wave, I suppose. But no, it's you know, it's job done, and the emotion, and you know, you think to yourself, holy hell, I've just won a cup. You know, it's yeah, they're the sort of races we dream about winning, and I'm just lucky enough that I've managed to do it.
That's a unique perspective that not many get as we welcome you back to Addington Raceway. Matthew Cross, that must be the closest you'd ever come to a cup drive.
Yeah, I actually got to drive the Fixer a couple of years ago. We went out to Regan Todd, so yeah, I did have a bit of a burl around on him, but that was cool. It was really cool in the aspect of going out there and being in Blair Orange's office. Often we sit up the top of the stand or down here, and you look out and you're always wondering what it would be like to be out there, and it's quite an eerie feeling when you go over in that back straight and you can kind of hear the echo with the tin fence in the back. It was good fun, and I just want to say too, Marc, thank you to the Ken Ford and Amanda Tomlinson team for allowing us the access to use one of their horses, Zoe, who's obviously quite a talented mare, and she kept us safe and doing a couple of rounds at the Addington Raceway, and then actually came out later on that night and ran a placing. So a big thanks to them. Obviously, it was quite a logistical battle for everybody to get that over the line, but I feel like Craig Thompson's got something really smart to say.
No, I have got nothing to say about
what have you got,
about Blair Orange. About you out there. Those who don't know, Matt used to be a driver about 9 to 10 years ago.
Very poor one.
So Blair drove 17,000 drives, or he's had 17,000 drives. You had 12. Now, what did you learn in that 2.5 minutes or 3.5 minutes he was going around the track, that if you ever gave away race calling, decided to go back driving again, very unlikely, but if that happened, what did you learn in that 3.5 minutes that you went out in Addington Raceway a week ago?
Well, I already knew it before I've probably called more winners than he's driven. Well, there you go.
Well, he has. What was your record? 12 for a donut?
12 for a donut.
Right.
12 for a donut.
Move on, Cookson.
Yes, righto. Let's talk about Copy That, who will be Blair Orange's drive, and he's searching for his third success in the Cup, of course, after driving Cruise Bromac and this horse to win it last year. Ray Green, of course, he doesn't train too many older horses. Matthew Cross usually gets the young ones up and going, but of course, after purchasing this horse and then selling the horse to the Butterworths, Copy That, he stayed with Ray Green. Of course, he's a legendary campaigner of horses, and what a campaign this guy's had.
It was a unique preparation last year, but I think this year he's taken it to a totally different level with what he's done with this horse, off handicaps at Alexandra Park, and of course Cambridge, where he was phenomenal, beating home some nice horses. He's run past Hot and Treacherous here in a race that he probably shouldn't have been able to win. Unique preparation, unique man, unique horse. Won't be as easy as last year. Not saying he got it easy last year, but this year it's going to be a lot harder.
Well, it's one of the stories of the race. I mean, December he was in a box for 4 months. Then he comes back, goes enormous at Auckland, heads to Australia, has a mini bleed, ends up coming back to New Zealand, going fantastic again off huge handicaps. And I'd say he's in as good a form as he was this time last year. Same draw. I think he's flying at the moment, Matthew Cross. He's a good beginner. He's a horse that, if you think 55 metres and 70 metres against not the best horses, but I mean, we're talking hot and treacherous, and Old Town Road was in one of them. He's a horse that can win the Cup. He deserves to be favourite. He's 360. I believe, talking to the camp, that they gave him a little bit of a quiet run on Saturday morning, worked him a mile and a half. He's fit and ready to go. He didn't need that much because he's coming off a trip down to the South Island on Tuesday. Love this horse. I think he's got the #1 driver aboard, and he's going to give you a hell of a sight tomorrow afternoon.
He's versatile, right? So we're all probably looking at it thinking that he's just going to work forward and it's going to be the same as last year. Let's say he's not fast away.
Well, he's got different strings to his bow. I mean, he hasn't won in front this year.
He nearly won the Sire Stakes coming from last year, beating his snout as a
100%. And I think Ray said that he's a stronger horse. He's actually, his body's a bit bigger now and he can do a little bit more work. And he's had to do that off big handicaps. So he's got the right driver. He's now more versatile. I would like to think he's in front though, Matt Cross. If I want to back him, I don't want to see him behind Rock and Roll Do or Old Town Road, because they're very quick horses. So I think what will unfold is Blair will be as positive as he can. The A scenario is he'll try and go forward, and if it's a Pembroke Playboy or a Spankem in front, I think the lead will be there for him, and from there he'll control the tempo like he did last year. Whether there is mid-race pressure, that will be the key to this race, Mark Cookson. If a Rock and Roll Do comes or a Majestic Cruiser comes, it changes the race.
And you know that the Aussies are going to come looking. Well, the Auckland lockdown prevented Ray Green from being here at Addington Raceway with his precious charge in Copy That. Nicole Sims, she was inside the Auckland border, and last year she was able to celebrate with Ray and the team at Lincoln Farms in Pukekohe. This year, Nicole's gone out to visit her old mate Ray.
My wife bought him as a weanling, so we've had him right from the get-go, really. Of course, we sold him, and we've still got him. So yeah, it's been a good ride.
It sure has been a good ride. It's sort of the stuff that dreams are made of, isn't it? What do you make of him this preparation? I feel like he's just got better and stronger. Talk me through his journey in terms of where he's at this preparation.
Well, of course, he had to be let right down. He was stood in a stall for 4 months, and yeah, to build that muscle back up and get him back to where he was takes a little bit of time and a bit of racing. So we've managed to be able to do that by going to Australia and getting some decent racing to him over there. And since he's come back, he's really thrived. I feel he's back to where he was. So we'll see tomorrow.
Those 2 runs up north off big handicaps, they were a feat in themselves, weren't they?
Yeah, they were tough, especially the last one. That was pretty tough, really. The last one was really tough, you know, and he knew it. He knew he'd had a race, and he was a bit tired when he first come down here, but he seems to have bounced back. He's back to himself, you know. He's feeling pretty good at the moment.
Talk to me about obviously having those runs under the belt, and they were a bit tough. Last year, heading into the Cup, he had that really hard workout, didn't he? And it just brought him on. So is it obviously it's a recipe in the past that's worked for him. Do you feel it can work again?
Don't see why not. So, yeah, I think so. I think we're in the zone, I think. Yeah.
Talk to me about him as a horse. You have just such an affinity with him. He's like your baby, isn't he?
Yeah, I do most. Like anybody can handle him, really. He's a really nice horse to work with. At the races, he can be a handful. You must have nice perfume on or something.
He likes my perfume.
Yeah, he's a lovely horse to work with. But yeah, at the races he can be a handful, but once he sets foot on the track, he's all business. So that's the main thing.
Talk to me about where you'd like to see him in the race. Obviously last year things worked out for him, didn't they? He found the front, he wasn't tackled. I feel like in his last couple of starts though, he's not a one-trick pony, is he, Ray?
No, he's not. No, he's most of his wins have been from in the front, but that's only because he was good enough to get there. I wouldn't say he had to be there. And you'd have seen from these last few starts that he's quite versatile. He can do it any which way you want.
It's a very even field this year, and it's a field that is creating a real buzz about it. You've come up as the favourite. I feel like this horse maybe a month ago, he had his doubters, but he's just one of those horses, he just loves to prove people wrong, doesn't he?
Yeah, his racing in Victoria probably just was not disappointing, but it sort of didn't inspire anybody to think he'd arrived back yet. But yeah, it's a fickle business. Fickle business. You'd flavour of the month today and discarded tomorrow.
Yeah, it would really complete the storyline when Ray will be here tomorrow, Craig Thompson, to see Copy That win. A couple of years ago, had that cosier draw. Didn't quite work out when starting as favourite. Last year, he couldn't be here, so it would be great if he picked it up.
Well, also, you remember the backstory of this horse. I mean, we talk about harness racing, how expensive it is to get into. He was a $7,000 weanling purchase. He is now a millionaire pacer. I mean, Rock and Roll Do was a $14,000 yearling purchase. I mean, you can buy horses at the sales and you can race horses and have the ride of a lifetime. So I know Akuta was expensive, but it doesn't make you a good horse. Copy That's a good horse and not an expensive horse. And I don't think the best is beyond him. He's only a 5-year-old. So, I mean, he's a horse that's still on the up and up. And as I said, he's got the right driver, the right trainer, a very good preparation, Matthew Cross. I think everything's falling in the right place for him. He's not my top pick, but he's the one I'm most afraid of.
Let's say Copy That works onto the top, winning post first time, gets the early crow, happy days, punters are stoked if they've taken Copy That. Majestic Cruiser comes looking. Does he hand to Majestic Cruiser with the risk that Rock and Roll Do then comes looking?
Well, I think what will happen is Blair will see how much tempo there's into the race and where the Aussies are going to settle. I'm not thinking he's handing to anything other than the Australians in this race. I don't see him handing to an Akuta. I think Spankem needs to get to the marker pegs first. So I think Blair controls the race if he finds the front. But as you know, harness racing is a funny thing. First of all, you've got to get the start right and things will unfold from there. But yeah, I think he'll be in at front at some stage, Copy That, more than likely after about 800 metres.
Well, from a horse who's done it all before and Copy That, both campaigns in New Zealand and Australia, to a horse who this time last year was still a maiden. Old Town Road broke the maiden after Cup Week. Part owner Josh Dickey decided to head to Australia, and this horse was only just getting going. It's been a big year for Old Town Road, Matthew Cross. And, well, John Dickey, he's got another nice one. He was at pains to point out last night at the cocktail party that he's certainly not retiring, contrary to some talk out there.
Yeah, and why would you with the ride that they're having with Old Town Road? And I know that speaking with John several times over the last couple of weeks, he's really enjoying being down here, and he held his cards close to his chest with this horse in terms of how good it was, and he was very open in saying, I'll just sit back and let the horse do the talking. If he's good enough, he's good enough. And what power and speed he showed here, Craig Thompson, to pick them up. And he's still doing things wrong. He wanted to lug in halfway up the straight, wobbles about, has a good look around. One could only imagine he'll improve off this. What about the speed, though? He's so fast. Can he do it off the back of a torridly run 2 mile is the question.
Well, I think what this race was a defining moment in Old Town Road's Cup glory, because I think John always thought he was a good horse. Zach always thought he was a good horse. Well, he's a very good horse, because not many horses could pick up 5 or 6 lengths off BD
He's
Joe,
top tier.
Run past Self Assured. He's got very, very high speed. He needs the right race. He is a little bit one of those horses that I don't think he can make his own luck to win the Cup.
Not this year.
Not when you're a new kid on the block. Start number 13. Not many horses win a Cup after 12 starts, and he's got to do that. What I do like about him, he's got the right driver to do it. He's a guy that he'll take everything in his stride. His Cup trial was excellent on Wednesday here, Matt. He sat on the back of Rock and Roll Do. They sped home in 54 seconds. I think he's a really good top 3 chance. Whether it's 12 months too early, I'm not too sure. But he has been well specced. He's now into 3rd, 4th favourite, Matt. He's in my top 3.
The Cup's changed though, right? You look at the years gone by back in the 2000s, you know, you'd have big tough Holmes DG out there who'd had 30 starts before he ran in a Cup, and you had to win 10 races before you even got a look at him being in the field. But the Cup's kind of changed now. Horses are more athletic. It wouldn't surprise you to see a horse win a Cup without having had 15 starts.
No, I agree with that. I think Mainland Banner won when she only had around about 12 starts. So it has been done in the past, but it's more of a rarity. That's back in 2005. I think he's a horse that, as I said, he's got very, very high speed. I just wouldn't want him having a tough trip. He's not a horse that could sit parked out and win a Cup. He needs cover. If he gets that cover, a little bit like Ashburton and one run of them, absolutely can win the Cup.
Gee, Zach's got a lot of confidence, and you've got such a great association with
Well, I don't like his Mo. I tell you what, I know it's Movember, but fair dinkum, Zach, that is one awful Mo.
Oh, hey, well,
shots fired.
Plenty of time to chat to him tomorrow about the Mo once he pilots not only his charge in Old Town Road in the Cup, but he's got a tough ask with Merlin, of course, in the Sire Stakes. Well, let's talk about another North Islander. Let's talk about Kango, the big boy. He's in the Cup for Anna Donnelly once again. 7th in the race last year, Matthew Cross, and there was a bit of concern from Anna as to whether or not he'd be ready for the Cup again this year, but the Calder Cup showed that he's here.
And it shows the class of the man in the sulky, David Butcher, one of the absolute best. The race was won with a couple of particular points at the race. Firstly, around the first corner, being able to hold Akuta, and then working in front of Akuta and hitting them with so much speed that he was able to actually work on the lead and then park the favourite. I don't think that there was anything in between Kango and Akuta in their particular runs. He's proven at 3,200 metres, Craig, aggressive driver on, a horse who is full of fitness. Wouldn't be surprised to see him up doing battle in the first half of the race.
Well, he's not a horse that I think will come from back in the field. The best version of Kango is when he's on the speed, like he was in the Kaikoura Cup. You're right, Matt, absolutely. The drive won him that race. To be fair, he bullied Marc Purdon, he got the front, and from there he controlled the speed. Marc's went great afterwards, but the winning of the race was when he found the front at about the mile. Now, his record at this distance is good. He was placed in an Auckland Cup. He's a Franklin Cup winner. I think he's had a very good preparation with a very good trainer. He's one of those horses that are in the top 6 to 8 chances in the race, but everything about Kango depends on the start and where he posies up. He, of course, last year raced in the Cup. Sam Otley drove him. David's back on board because David had been off the scene for about a month or so, but he's won a Cup before with changeover. He knows how to win a Cup, Marc Cookson. I'm just not sure whether it's this year.
Well, let's talk about an interesting Cup preparation. The winter time, it's a bit of a quieter time in harness racing. A lot of the good horses have finished their preparations and we're waiting for the spring, but a horse called Smithys Terror was able to, well, go through the winter time and be outstanding, be a star of the winter, Matthew Cross. And then the Methven Cup came around and gave Corbin Newman his first group success.
This will be a really feel-good story. I was speaking to some of the owners last night at the IRT Cup function, and they said, what sort of chance am I? What sort of chance? And I said to them, you know what, it wouldn't surprise me if Smithys Terror beat more horses home than beat him. He's that sort of horse. He went on a rampage here during the winter at Addington, and often it's always a little bit tricky to work out that form, but he was running 3.9 over 2,600 metres, and then what he did to them in the Methven Cup proves that he deserves his spot here, Craig Thompson. Not a winning chance for me, but I'll be gunning for the owners that they get a sight, because I tell you what, they'll be celebrating no matter
they'll be giving it a yell at the 200 no matter what. Good run in the Methven Cup, hindered by a very bad draw here. Won the second row following out Self Assured's not great, but I think what will unfold is he'll take the shortcuts. He's $61. No one expects him to win the Cup, but no one expected him to win the Methven Cup. So he's one of these horses that's had a very long campaign. He's very race hard fit. Of course, the Duns have won a Cup before with Mainland Banner. Of course, Robert, he was placed 3 times behind Master Musician. He knows how to train a horse. He's got a very good driver aboard. He's just in a very tough race.
All right, let's take a look at the major Australian player. We've already spoken about one of them in Majestic Cruiser. Well, let's talk about the next of them in Rock and Roll Do. Steel Jaw won the Cup in 1983 for Norm Lang. Lightning Blue won an Inter-Dominion here at Addington in 1987 and won the Cup as well the same year. Over the next 35 years, just one Australian trained and driven, Arden Rooney in 2015. Matthew Cross, Rock and Roll Do. The plans were set in motion by the owners to come here to the IRT New Zealand Cup, then going through a fantastic Victorian campaign.
The Victoria Cup was super. I remember watching him in the Kilmore Cup, I think it was, when he won that, and I thought, whew, this is a serious horse. And then to come out and be so dominant in the Victorian Cup, deserves his spot here, Rock and Roll Do. He's a horse that has been well found in the market and deservedly so as well. The confidence is obviously there from the punters, Craig Thompson, and the confidence there after this trial. Good to see him step away. I think in the Ashburton Flying Stakes, if anything, just how the start unfolded, they sort of walked up, they stopped, and then they went. He sort of came to a complete standstill and everyone else was kind of still moving. I think that Michael Stanley, now that he's had the experience and the horse has had the experience and behind the tapes, it's going to be a totally different story here tomorrow.
Well, I think being here for 3 weeks has certainly aided his chances. I agree with you that Kai Curry was going back when they were going forward. I love that cup trial we've just seen there with Old Town Road. I think Old Town Road couldn't get to him. The plugs were still in on the winner. He's run home at 154 and he's run home 53.8 on the market pegs. Don't think I've seen a better cup trial, albeit there's only 3 in there and he had a little bit of a walk up, so he was given a bit of a chance to step away. This is the horse that can work in a cup and still win a cup. I think he's a horse that I wouldn't be afraid if he's parked out at the Bell like he was here in the Victoria Cup and he just grinds past them. That's copy that 3 back on the fence as we watch this race. These 2 horses have met twice and Rock and Roll Do's beaten copy that 2 times. He's a horse for me that's had a very good preparation. TAB are giving $6 on him in boosted odds at the moment. He's $5 on the fixed odds, $6 booster. Top pick for me to win the Cup this year. Clean beginning, working into the race, best star in the field at a very good price.
That's some whale confidence.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, he's just a horse when you look at what he's done and what he's beaten, and his preparation has seemed to be faultless to me. The only concern I've got is that he does follow out the other Australian in Majestic Cruiser, who's yet to be proven from a stand, so he may have to navigate a bit of traffic. But if this horse is put in the race, and I've had a lot of people at the airport today who said, you're tipping an Aussie? And I said, absolutely. I think he'll give you a hell of a sight tomorrow.
Say copy that leads, right? Rock and Roll Do, back half of the field, coming around the corner the first time. He's going to have to race potentially 3 wide around at least 1 bend through the first mile, and he's going to be 1 off for the other 2 bends before he potentially even gets there. So he's going to have to cover a fair bit of ground whale and do it the tradesman's way, particularly if copy that's in front.
Well, absolutely. I agree with that, but he may have to sit parked outside copy that at the Bell. But if he gets there early enough and there's enough pressure in the race, say there's a couple of challenges early on, if copy that's in front, we're talking about that. It may not unfold like that, but if he is, would you want Rock and Roll Do sitting outside you from the 1400 and just niggling away at you?
Would you hand?
I think he's the right horse to hand too, because he'll get you the lane and then you get a chance to get him up the inside.
Can he beat him up the lane?
Copy that? Absolutely you can. But I think if they run 3:53, and they will go close to running that if we get a fine day tomorrow, that's Lazarus's record. That's up for grabs tomorrow, because this is as good a field as Lazarus, if not better. So I think there's enough tempo in the race that they'll run good time. I think he's potentially the best star in the field.
And then say he moves around mid-race, gets to parked. How does that change the overall dynamic of the race, particularly with drivers out the back? They can look around and they see, oh, crap, Michael Stanley's parked. I can't go 3 wide here. I'm in the breeze for the last 1,000 metres.
And that's why it very much depends on how people get into the race early on. If the drivers think that they're going to sit till the 1,200 or the 1,400 and want to work into the race, it's too late. If you're one of the horses that have got a favourite in front, and if you're not moving early in the train, the horse that parked out will control the tempo, and you could be out there 3 wide from the Bell. Pretty tough race.
Rock and Roll Do. The boys from Ballarat, both Michael Stanley and Brendan James getting together with this horse. Of course, Michael Stanley, he had a great run with a horse called Spectacular. The campaign came to an abrupt end when the horse had a paddock accident, and then of course he trained Soho Tribeca for the last 10 odd starts of that horse's campaign, but he's got an absolute superstar in Rock and Roll Do, and there's a big chance for the Australian Hoodoo. First time in 35 years was back in 2015 for the Aussies to win a cup. They've got two big chances this year. Well, let's talk about the Stonewall Stud team. It's been a big year for them, a big season, the setup of their operation in North Canterbury to go with their operations in the southern part of Auckland. They are represented with two runners in the field. The first of them is BD Joe. Benjamin Butcher completes the hat-trick of butchers who will drive the father and two sons in the race for Steve and his sister Amanda Telfer. BD Joe loves a lead, BD Joe, loves a good draw, but unfortunately, Matt, doesn't have that.
He doesn't, Mark. We have seen the versatility of him, though, coming from off the speed. BD Joe can absolutely win the race. He's going to need things go his way, Craig. Had he drawn the front and you knew that he would step as well as what he did in the Flying Stakes, I reckon it was about as quick as I've seen an open class horse step. If he was in front in this particular race, you would have a lot more confidence in him. I'm not going to write him off. I think he can still win the race, but he needs a lot to go his way. He's a horse he's simply airborne at the moment.
I would hate to have a camera on Steve Telfer when the barrier draw came out, and he's ended up with 15 and 16 with its two charges here. But you're right, he came from a long way back earlier on. Of course, he's a former Jules winner. He was fantastic controlling the tempo on the Flying Stakes. It was a very slowly run Flying Stakes, so Ben gave him an easy run there. This horse has doubled his price. A week ago, you were getting $6. Now you can get $15 for him. That's because of the draw. He's got a great form line. He's won 4 of 5 starts this time in, and a beaten second in his other start, Mark. It's just the barrier draw has really hindered this horse. I think it'll take a very good drive by Ben Butcher to sum it up at the start and hopefully get a drag into the race. Can he win the race? Absolutely. He's in career best form, this horse, but geez, I would have loved to see him draw a front row draw.
Yeah, Benjamin Butcher, he's driven in the race before on check-in. Let's talk about the second of the Team Telfer runners. And Alta Wiseguy got automatic entry into this race by winning the New Brighton Cup. Ran a placing in a Hannon Memorial and a Methven Cup, and then a good run in the Ashburton Flying Stakes as well, and a big hand in the southern operation of the Telfer team, Matthew Cross and Tim Williams, to take the drive.
Yeah, Alta Wiseguy's a horse who can generally pick the start very well, Craig. He's going to have to here, another one of these runners who will need to be in a really good position. I don't want to be on him if he's having to work around 3 wide, around a couple of bends. Alta Wiseguy, phenomenally fast horse. If he were to posse up somewhere, midfield pegs, try and get a gap through the middle, no reason why he couldn't sneak his way into the top 5. Possibly going to be better in another year. Possibly a horse that could be a strong hope in the free-for-all if he got a good draw from the mobile. Not the worst in the race, but needs a bit of luck.
Yeah, his price indicates his chances to me, Matt. He needed a front row draw and he needs a cosy run. I've always thought Alta Wiseguy, and this is no knock on him, I always thought he's a speed horse. He's lethal, either being in front or with a sit. I wouldn't want him coming 3 wide on a train here and trying to run 2 miles and run over the top of Copy That and Rock and Roll Do. This is him, going very good last time. Of course, he was placed in the Methven Cup, and he was very good in the Hannon Memorial. He's racing well. I just don't think that he can win from the draw, and hence why he's at a very big price. Well, not a big price. $21 is not a big price, but he's just going to need a lot of luck from that second row.
It's great for the Steve and Amanda Telfer crew and the Stockmans. They've put so much money and so much effort into the industry over the last couple of years, and years before that as well, that they've been able to have 2 horses in the Cup. I just wish they didn't have such crap draws.
Well, it's amazing. The premiership leaders in the season, and they've never won a Cup, of course, Steve and Amanda, and they had 2 good chances leading into the barrier draw. BD Joe, I think, is the clear better of the 2, but as I said, the draw makes it very difficult.
South Coast Arden, speaking of draws, pretty much no choice to put the horse on the unruly with the behaviour that's been in the lead up to this race from the horse manners-wise. 3rd in the race last year, and then went on to win the New Zealand free-for-all winner on show day. Certainly, Matt, not quite the South Coast Arden we saw 12 months ago.
Definitely not, in the unruly certainly makes it hard. the Jules winning South Coast Arden, that version of him. I hope that Brent Mangos can get it back, but at the moment he's just not showing enough for mine to be saying that he can be running in the top 3 in the Cup. Huge here last year. He's a big brute when he's right, Craig, but in terms of confidence, I just don't know where it's got to. Another one who's just looking to get that zen back.
Well, he's just flown off the radar. Feedingham flown off the radar. This is him running 3rd. Cup week last year. I mean, he went enormous in the free-for-all, but we just haven't seen that version, and I don't know why. And he's been a real problem from the standing start, hence why he's on the unruly. He came in here, had a private workout during the week with Spankem and Self-Assured. The first go from a standing start they gave him, and he galloped. You couldn't back him, Matthew Cross. I know people love the horse. I love the horse. I've made a lot of money off this horse.
We're here for punting, not relationships.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of people that have their heart on their sleeve and they bet through their heart instead of their brain. South Coast Arden, $61. Would you believe it? He was around about $8 last year, Matt. So, no, I can't have him at the moment.
Well, let's have a look at the market once again for the IRT New Zealand Cup for 2022. tab.co.nz. As the whale mentioned, there is enhanced odds available, an odds boost on the Australian number 13 Rock and Roll Do at tab.co.nz, and you can take a look at the NZ Cup Hub. There are novelty bets in the NZ Cup Hub. You've got head-to-heads, you've got top 8, you've got top 5, you've got top 3 markets available there. There are plenty of ways to play the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. We're going to take a short break here at Addington Raceway. It's the night before the big day, and when we come back, we are going to talk through our top 4 in this year's running of the Great Race.
Have a look both ways before I let you cross my mind. Didn't see it coming 'cause I've never seen your
Welcome back to Addington Raceway, the night before the running of the 2022 IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. The race to run at 5:36 on Tuesday. Well, the markets, they've been open for a while. We've had the futures markets. We've seen a couple of favourite changes. We've seen equal favourites in the race. And now the time for talking is almost over. Craig Thompson, it's time for you. What are your 4 numbers, your 4 picks in this year's Cup?
I'll tell you what, it's changed in the last week or 10 days. The Cup trial for me was a defining moment. I really liked the way he got to the line, how he ran through the line, Rock and Roll Do. $6 boosted odds if you want to back him. I reckon he'll pay less than that on the day. He's $5 at the moment. I think the Australian money will come for him. I just want to see him step. I want him to be put in the race. I want to see the version of the Victoria Cup winner. I think if we see that tomorrow afternoon, I think he can win. The main dangers copy that. His standing start manners are great. If he finds the front like he did last year, he's clearly the horse to beat. He's racing as good, if not better. He's coming off a New Zealand record 2,700 at his last start, and he's got the country's best aboard. As far as third pick, I think Old Town Road is a real up-and-comer. I think he's got probably the fastest 200 metres in the race. He just needs cover to get it, and if he does, he's lethal. Right driver aboard. Best roughie in this race, punters, is Majestic Cruiser by a long way. His $18 is overs. There is a market, as Marc Cookson said, for the 8 outsiders in the field. He is $4.20 against the other 7 roughies. Reckon it's a great bet.
And for you, Matt?
Jeez, you're a trader. If it was the Wallabies and the All Blacks playing, you'd be tipping the Wallabies, would you?
I actually can't remember the last time I tipped an Australian horse, but I really do like this.
Big moment for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, and you're analytical. You're speaking analytically rather than
I'm speaking my brain, not my heart.
I'm going to speak with my heart.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like I'm the only one here standing up for the defending champion.
Rightio.
Copy that. I'm with copy that. Copy that on top for me. I think he'll be winning. Roll forward from the barrier draw. He's going to be awfully hard to stop. So much respect around Rock and Roll Do, the Australian. How can you leave out Self-Assured with A.G. Hurley off the inside barrier, particularly if he's fast away? He's going to cover less ground than anything else in the race. And the other one I've got, Spankem, of course. I'm not leaving Spankem out of 4.
No,
How could
okay.
you leave Spankem out of 4? Top 5, that would be my bet in the race.
Top
five Spankem would be about my bet of the day, bet of the week just about.
What did you like, Cookie?
Rock and Roll Do for me.
Oh, you're a trader as well.
Sorry, well, I'm
glad one of us is sticking up for Copy That.
That's why we're wearing a bit of yellow on us today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, we might have to join the Australians and take the flights over to Oz, and I know that they're going to be wanting the Cup this year. Just speaking to Michael Stanley after the Cup trial, I think this horse is ready to go, and same position as well. The way the horse ran through the line in the Cup trial will certainly get the 3,200 metre distance and can do work, as we've seen both in the Kilmore Cup and most notably in the Victoria Cup. Yeah, Old Town Road, when speaking to John Dickey after the Cup, he was super happy, and same with Zachary Butcher, was obviously a little bit fat, had been enjoying the Canterbury grass around Ashburton time, but that Cup trial's really tuned Old Town Road up and can run a big race. You copy that's going to be right there after hopefully getting away nicely, and it'll be good for Ray Green to get the job done once again this year, and he'll be on track. You copy that in for third, and Self Assured, a bit of a forgotten horse this year, as mentioned by a few, out to a Purdon Cullen horse, a former winner of the race, out to an $8 prospect. Just shows the depth of this year's Cup field. All right, how are we going to play the Cup in terms of, if you had $100, well, where are you putting it?
He's taking it home. He ain't spending it.
Yeah.
I have spent some. Rock and Roll Do, I thought, win or nothing with him. That's how I see the race. So 50 a win on him at boosted odds $6. tab.co.nz. Don't play the fixed odds price. You get $6 on the boost. This is not making Matthew Peden happy, but that's the way to play. Majestic Cruiser in the Ruffy race. So what that is, scroll down at the bottom, tab.co.nz, where the power plays is. You'll see that there's an option there for the outsiders of the field. I think he's the best of the outsiders. He doesn't have to win the race. He only has to beat the other 7 home. $4.20, 50 on him.
All right, and for you, Matthew, you getting your wallet out?
Yeah, I'll get the wallet out a little bit. So this is how I'm going to play my $100 for the Cup tomorrow. Now, I've got a DIY power play. Copy that to win, $3.60. Spankem top 5, $2.10. Rock and Roll Do top 5, $1.55. Now, that $50 DIY power play, which you at home can do on the NZ Cup Hub, can return you $585.90. There's so many options you can put together. Rather than just putting up with what the bookies have given you in terms of the power plays, read the race how you will. I think Copy That will win. I don't see how Spankem and Rock and Roll Do don't run in top 5, and $585 gives you some good shopping. Now, $50 trifecta, 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 13 and 15 in behind, both Copy That and Rock and Roll Do. Got Majestic Cruiser in there, Spankem as well, and Old Town Road, plus BD Joe. I'm going to definitely have him. You like that trifecta? Well,
I'd like to have a bit of ink in my pen to write it down. There's a fair bit to copy that. So what I would do is get your phone out and screenshot that, Marc.
My Sky, turn it back.
Absolutely. Where's your 100 going, Marc?
Watch the replay. Well, I'm playing a DIY power play in the race as well. We've seen the same thing in terms of that market for the roughies. I think that roughie and Majestic Cruiser, you want to get on even more than that if you want to spend a little bit more. The DIY power play has to have Rock and Roll Do to win. Copy that to run top 5, Self Assured just to run top 8, Akuta to run a good race top 8, certainly will tune him up for the likes of the Derby, and Old Town Road to run top 8 as well. If you wanted to include a few others, there's top 8, top 5 markets there, but that's probably enough. Copy that in terms of an early crow, that's available at tab.co.nz, and boosted odds on Rock and Roll Do, play a bit of that instead of on the nose as well. So we're thinking almost alike. Well, thank goodness.
Well, we're either going to be very right or very wrong, Marc Cookson. So good luck to you if you're playing into the Cup tomorrow, 5:36. And, of course, all of the other options that the TAB got on their plays. As far as the undercard, Matt, what are you looking forward to?
I was wondering, and I said to him last night, we were talking about Dalgety's shirt when we were at the IRT Cup function. I was wondering if Matt Peden had, you know how they have the markets for who's going to wear what?
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd frame a market.
$1.08 for Dalgety to have the wildest
on the
shirt.
Scale of funkiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And the shoes.
Yeah, the shoes.
Don't forget the shoes as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll pull something out. They'd be nervous, though. Young Carter driving.
Well, he's got an exam in the morning. I reckon that's actually a good thing, Matt. I mean, if you're a young fella, you don't want to be thinking about the Cup. You've got to think about an exam. You've got to think about passing that first and then worry what unfolds the rest of the day.
Are you saying we should all set an exam in the morning?
Well,
I've retired from the exams. Retired from that. There's enough study for this.
I'm not clever enough to do exams, so it doesn't.
What's your best of the day tomorrow? What
here we
if
go.
you're having one bet for the viewers out there tomorrow who want to put their hard-earned cash on? What's the one bet tomorrow?
Okay, here's Herbie. Last race, and take the $3.50 now, ladies and gentlemen, because I reckon this is my prediction. By race 13 tomorrow, Here's Herbie will be $2.50. Value bet race 10, number 10, Franco Norton, going against all of my rules. A horse drawn won the second row, but he is electric fast. Cup day, competitive fields. I reckon he's got enough speed to run over top of them, Franco Norton. And the best long shot, how this horse is $16, I just cannot believe my eyes. Jimmy James Maguire, race 6, number 4, should be half of that. He's your long shot bet, and another one I reckon will start a little shorter.
As far as best of the day for me, I think Republican Party. I think the bookmakers got this definitely wrong. 2.5, they opened him up 3 days ago. He's a horse that I clocked in the Cup Day trials. He was the best run of the Cup Day trials. He ran home faster than Rock and Roll do. That's right, 53.7, and Blair never pulled him out or pulled him in until 150 metre mark. I think he's a horse that compete with Akuta. If Akuta was in this field, he'd be $1.60. I think he'll start evens or better tomorrow. He's the best of the day. Republican Party, very confident on him. As far as some value, I don't mind Get Up and Dance. I really loved his Cup Day trial. He's a horse that's drawn barrier 1. I think he can get off the gate. I don't think he has to be a leader, but I think on the market pegs and that sort of race, I reckon he's a big chance. We saw what he did through Cup Week last year. Nathan Williamson takes the drive. I think he's primed and ready to go, and he's getting around $8.
All right, in terms of, for me, I'm really keen on Republican Party as well. It all went to plan at Ashburton. They wanted the front, they got there, and no one was able to run past him. And it could be a great tune-up, of course, for the Derby. And looking for another success in the junior free-for-all after Krug won it last year, Cran and Chrissy Dalgety. And Blair Orange, he is super keen on this horse, Republican Party. And race 5, the junior free-for-all. Not going to be easy, of course, with the ballots coming out of the Cup running in the race, but still Republican Party, a Class 3-year-old. Bolt for Brilliance, can't wait to see the Worthy Queen, the inaugural Worthy Queen, with the free-for-all trot moving its way to the December 4th meeting. Bolt for Brilliance, wouldn't it be great after we've had Sunday Sun getting the job done, we've had Muscle Mountain, he's got the job done with a win, and of course very good at the Cup trials. And wouldn't it be great if Bolt for Brilliance was able to seal it for the top 3 in Friday's Renwick Farms Dominion by picking up a win tomorrow?
Yeah, you've got to remember also, just quickly back to the Cup, the top 8 that run in the Cup field, the first 8 home are guaranteed to start for the free-for-all. So that makes it very difficult for those who are trying to get into the free-for-all on Friday. So if you're a horse that misses away in this race, like I'd hate to say it, like copy that and say he runs outside the top 8, he'll get into the free-for-all. But what that does do is another horse may not make the field. So this is crucial going into Friday, that horses stand up. Republican Party's in the nominations for Friday. He probably needs to win on Tuesday to guarantee a start, Matt. So a lot to unfold. I'm looking forward to Friday as well. Of course, Dominion Handicap. Sunday Sun's back. Bolt for Brilliance. We see him tomorrow. And of course, Muscle Mountain, who we saw through the Cup trials, outstanding.
Oh, we can't wait for it. There's a lot to get through. We will see you whether you're here at Addington Raceway or watching the coverage on TAB Trackside 1. We'll see you on Cup Day.
Terror to love, a length and a half, Pembroke Playboy, and then Fly Like an Eagle. Chris and me's out now. Terror to love leads. Chris and me, Fly Like an Eagle. It is still Terror to love. He's going to do it. It is the greatest Cup win of all time. Adore joins in. Franco Nelson, an inside run. The Terror's in trouble. Franco Nelson hit the lead. Adore Me comes at him. Franco Nelson and Adore Me. Franco Nelson, Adore Me. They come to the post. Adore Me, one of the nose. Spankem leads the Cup field. The fixer can't get him. Cruz Promac. Chase Orton is late. 100 to go. Spankem. Cruz Promac the out.